Meeting is now called to order. Roll call, Mr. Shapiro.
All board members are present.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as we have been reading at the beginning of all of our meetings, our CCS mission statement, Carmel Clay Schools will provide opportunities for all students to realize their potential in an ever-changing world. And up next, we have a public comment, and we do have 7 people from our Group 1 signed up for public comment this evening. And that Group 1 is people who are students, parents, guardians, employees, and Carmel residents.
Madam President, with your permission, I'd like to make a motion as it relates to our standard rules for public comment. I listened with interest and agreement last week to the commentary about the provision of our rules that says a patron shall not be named during public comments. Since this evening's meeting is solely about candidates for our empty board seat, I would move that we would suspend that rule and allow anyone who wishes to make a public comment that names their support or opposition with, dignity and, appropriate professionalism is welcome to do so. So that's my motion.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. So the motion is to, for this specific meeting, to suspend the portion. I will go ahead and read that part where we typically say comments may not reference specific corporation employees, patrons, or students. And for this evening, your motion is to suspend the patrons portion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in agreement?
Good idea.
Yep, I think it's a really great idea specifically for this. All right, so all in favor, again, for the motion is this evening, we are suspending the portion that says, specifically says patrons may not be referenced. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for that. I will make sure I modify that when I read the rules. As we do with all public comment sessions, I'm just going to kind of read the rules beforehand before we get started. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and then must preface their comments by giving their name. Typically what we'll do is we will have our bingo ball selection and you'll be put in order. I will say who is up and who is on deck so that person on deck can be ready to speak next. Speakers may not yield their time to another speaker. And here's the portion that we have amended for this evening. Comments may not reference specific corporation employees or students. Comments shall be directed to the board. No person may address or question individual board members. The school board will not act on or respond to questions or comments made during public comment, but will take them under advisement. So all the numbers have been placed in the basket and randomly selected.
They have, and number 1 is up and number 2 is on deck.
Okay.
That's 2 weeks.
That's true. Yeah. All right. I don't. Okay, so first person up is Lindsay Omer, and on deck is Jeff Callahan. And as a reminder, you will have 3 minutes, and you will be able to see your time, hopefully on the screen. And then also you will be given a warning with the little lights that are there on the podium. The light will give you a warning when you have 30 seconds left. So up first, we have Lindsay Omer. Yeah, we have to be able to hear you so that when we record this.
Oh, the microphone makes me very uncomfortable. I hope you all can hear me. My name is Lindsay, and I just wanted to take a minute to introduce myself. I have lived in Carmel my entire life, basically. I went to Carmel schools, I was an active student, and I married into a family of CCS employees, one of whom is the current longest employee of CCS, unless somebody trumped him, but that would be weird. I am the mother of 2 Prairie Trace students, and I am also very active in our school community. I have been on our PTO for the last 5 years, and I have been the co-president for the last 2 years. I knew that I always wanted to raise my kids in Carmel schools, and I never wanted to live anywhere else. I also am a realtor, and what I see so frequently in my job is that people move here for the schools. They either change houses and need to stay in the district, they come from neighboring communities, or they come from afar to be in our Carmel schools. With all of that said, I do want to talk about my friend Jennifer Cashin, who is one of the candidates for the open position. Um, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say tonight, I really had to think back about how I met her, and truthfully, I have no idea. We are both very active in the school community and the local community. We have so many mutual friends because of that, and neither one of us actually remember how we met. But if there's a school event, we are both probably there. If there's a community event, we are probably there. Anytime there's something going on, she's just always around. She has spent so much of her time dedicated to our schools. And 28 minutes?
You have about 1 minute left.
That was very confusing. One of the things that I wanted to talk to about Jennifer is not only does she just volunteer and do what she is asked to do, she is always working on how she can make things better and improve what we already have. One of my favorite ways that she has done that is by working with a couple of other of her friends and creating Greyhound Council, which combines all 15 of our schools' PTOs so that they can strategize, they can share vendors, they can talk about problems and solutions instead of all of us creating our own reinventing the wheel every time we do something, and we can work together and figure out what is good and what we can improve on. And she was a really huge person that implemented that and is still actively involved in keeping us all organized and on track when we are doing that.
You're good. 30 seconds. You're good.
One of the things that I really like about our Carmel community is how many ways our parents can be involved in our schools. There are more opportunities than you could even imagine, and she has proven by participating in so many of those that she is willing to do the work. And I just am really impressed with her, and I think that she would be a fantastic candidate.
Thank you so much. Up next is Jeff Callahan in On Deck.
Number 4.
On deck is Amy Bloom.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. Hopefully I won't blast everybody with my voice, this microphone. My name is Jeff Callahan. I'm a Carmel High School graduate, class of 95, and about 8 years ago, my wife and I moved back to Carmel with our 2 kids, one currently at Creekside and the other at Clay Center. I'm here tonight to speak from firsthand experience about Jennifer Cashin's diligence, passion, and most importantly, her ability to turn ideas into action for the CCS. I serve as a board member at large for Carmel Youth Lacrosse and have coached with the Carmel Dads Club at the 8U and 10U levels for the past 2 years. Through that work, I've seen Jennifer show up consistently as an advocate and a volunteer for our young athletes. She attends board meetings, contributes thoughtful ideas, and brings genuine enthusiasm for the sport. You can see it at every practice and every game. It isn't just performative involvement, it's real. What sets her apart is simple. When she hears about a challenge, she just doesn't nod, she acts. A concern gets raised, and you can almost see the switch flip. She asks the right questions, she connects the right people, and most importantly, she follows through. A great example was when she helped us initiate a meeting with the Carmel Athletics Department and Dr. O. We raised concerns about facility access, and she played a key role in presenting a clear, organized request, improving access to the upper fields, securing additional equipment storage, and addressing lingering issues like broken scoreboards. On a personal note, my wife is eternally grateful that our garage is no longer the unofficial storage facility for Carmel Youth Lacrosse. I see that same diligence and commitment in her work supporting the district through PTO involvement and through the CEF. My wife has served alongside her for the past 4 years, and during that time, she and others have been recruited by Jennifer enthusiastically to the CEF Scholarship Committee, Taste of Carmel, and much more. From where I actually stand, I see someone who runs her own consulting business, shows up for her kids' many activities, volunteers hands-on in our schools, and still asks, what else can I do? Where else is there a need? How can I get more people involved? To some, there is no candidate more engaged, more passionate, or in our district, or more committed to making things better, not just words, but through action. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Amy Bloom, and on deck
Number 7.
is Maureen Morgan.
Good evening, President Coquet, board members, administrators, and community members. Thank you for your continued dedication to our schools. I sound like Dr. O tonight, don't I? I'm Amy Bloom, and I speak tonight as a 25-year Carmel resident, a parent of a student in the schools for the past 13 years, and a committed advocate for our students and teachers. I want to share my perspective on the vote to fill the vacant board seat. Both last week's meeting and tonight's discussion highlight the importance of this decision. After attending last week's meeting and rewatching the interviews online, it's clear to me that you have an opportunity to select a highly qualified, hardworking, and collaborative member to join this team. For the past 4 years, I've had the privilege of working with Jennifer Cashin. As a CEF board member, I've seen firsthand how CEF fosters opportunity, supports educators, connects our community, and invests in our students. Jennifer Cashin has worked closely with us in a number of different areas, and I've seen how deeply her commitment is to each of these efforts. Jennifer consistently gives her time generously, even with having 3 young children in the schools. She helps resolve concerns, brings forward thoughtful ideas, and always has the best interest of our students, teachers, and parents in mind. Her talents have strengthened CEF in countless ways: organizing the Ghost and Goblins Run, managing and promoting our silent auction, designing decor for the Taste of Carmel event, evaluating hundreds of CEF scholarships, and helping to coordinate logistics and flow of the Senior Scholarship Night. Every role, she brings experience and attention to detail and a determined positive spirit. Understanding the complexities of our district, the funding, legislation, community dynamics can take years. You have the chance to appoint someone who is already deeply engaged, knowledgeable, and fully committed to this role. She is ready to serve with both strength and grace. Last week, all 3 candidates seemed kind and seemed very caring about our students and our community. But only Jennifer Cashin has shown her knowledge, experience, and action to be a board member. I respectfully urge you to vote for Jennifer Cashin as the new CEF board member. Tonight should be the easiest vote you have ever taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Maureen Morgan, and on deck
Number 6.
is Allie Missler.
Hello, my name is Maureen Morgan, and I just want to outline 2 things that I think are important to be said at tonight's meeting. Number 1, there is a significant conflict of interest with candidate Jennifer Cashin. Support CCS spent thousands of dollars on the Shapiro and Wheeler campaign, so if board members Wheeler and Shapiro would vote for her tonight, it would appear they're beholden to the PAC. And we really want to keep politics out of the school board. Second, Carmel needs a diverse school board, and not one that's handpicked by a powerful PAC. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Allie Missler, and on deck
Number 3.
is Amber Davis.
Good evening, board members and members of the community. My name is Allie Missler, and I am the mother of 2 Carmel graduates, and I have 2 grandsons about to enter the school system. I attended last week's meeting, and I watched all 3 candidates' interviews in their entirety. I want to thank the board and all of the candidates for the care and transparency they brought to this process. After listening closely to each response, I would like to express my strong support for Jennifer Cashin, who stood out to me as the most clearly prepared and ready to step into this role immediately. From the beginning of the interview, it was evident that Jennifer had done the work. She did not offer surface level or generic answers. Instead, she gave thoughtful, comprehensive responses that demonstrated a deep understanding of the district, the role of the board, and the responsibilities that come with it. What particularly impressed me was that her answers went beyond vision. She spoke about specific initiatives and tied them directly to specific levels of funding, showing that she understands not only what we want to do, but how those decisions connect to real budget decisions. Those priorities, connect to real budget decisions. That level of readiness does not happen by accident. It is rooted in her experience leading Support CCS, a nonpartisan organization focused on strengthening Carmel's public schools and supporting qualified school board candidates. Through that work, Jennifer has spent years listening to families, engaging with educators, and learning how effective governance works in practice. That experience is foundational to her preparation, and it uniquely positions her to step in and contribute immediately. She will not have a learning curve. Instead, she will bring a track record. Throughout the interview, Jennifer consistently emphasized the importance of listening, collaborating, and thoughtful decision-making. She acknowledges the strengths of our district while also recognizing the need for ongoing community engagement and careful stewardship. Her responses reflected not just knowledge, but judgment, the kind that comes from sustained involvement and careful study. And I want to directly address the question that was just raised about potential conflicts of interest related to the organization she led. Support CCS was intentionally established as a nonpartisan organization, and Jennifer has taken clear and deliberate steps to step away from any leadership role to avoid even the appearance of a conflict. Transparency matters, and she has demonstrated that she understands and respects that responsibility. It is also important to note that when she runs for a fully elected term later this year, she will be required to apply for Support CCS's endorsement just like any other candidate. That requirement reinforces her commitment to fairness, independence, and appropriate governance. Among all three candidates, Jennifer's interview demonstrated a level of preparation, clarity, and readiness that distinguished her. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Amber Davis, and then on deck is Jill Lombardo.
Good evening. My name is Amber Davis, and I am the parent of 2 children at Carmel Clay Schools. I'm here tonight to offer my strong support for the appointment of Jennifer Cashin to the vacant school board seat in District 2. I have known Jennifer since 2022 when we first met while volunteering with Support CCS, a nonpartisan political action committee dedicated to supporting this district. And since that time, she has risen to serve as chair of the organization, a role that reflects her leadership, integrity, and commitment to public education. Jennifer is not only an advocate for our schools, but also an engaged parent. She has 3 children who have been part of Carmel Clay Schools for 6 years and has been actively involved in Greyhound Council, PTO, and multiple committees with the Carmel Education Foundation. Jennifer is kind, caring, generous, dedicated, and extremely professional. She brings both firsthand experience and a proven record of service. I believe she's exceptionally well qualified for this role and would be an asset to the board and to the entire Carmel Clay community. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
Thank you. Up next is Jill Lombardo.
Good evening. My name is Jill Lombardo. I am the parent of 2 children in the Carmel Clay Schools and an active PTO member. I attended the school board candidate interviews last week, and I appreciated the opportunity to hear from all 3 candidates. Each demonstrated a genuine passion for the Carmel Clay school districts and a willingness to serve our communities, which was really great. I would like to share my thoughts regarding the importance of filling this position. Because this appointment is being made late in the term with a limited time remaining, it is essential that the individual selected is prepared to serve effectively from day one. That readiness includes a strong understanding of the current and complex issues facing our district, such as SEA 1 legislation, the safety referendum on this year's ballot, and the impact of universal school vouchers on our schools and budget. A clear awareness of these issues and their potential financial and educational impacts is critical for making informed decisions that prioritize students, educators, and schools. While all of the candidates expressed care for our children, only Jennifer Cashin demonstrated a deep and thorough understanding of these issues, including how they would affect district funding, operations, and long-term stability. It is also important for a board member to understand how the school board functions. Regular attendance at school board meetings builds familiarity with board procedures and ongoing district priorities. Jennifer Cashin was the only candidate interviewed that indicated consistent attendance at school board meetings. Additionally, Jennifer Cashin was able to reference prior experience with working with our schools through organizations such as PTOs, the Greyhound Council, and the Carmel Education Foundation. These experiences provide valuable insight into how to effectively communicate, collaborate, and advocate with a large and diverse school district such as ours. They also offer perspective on the unique strengths and challenges across our schools. Jennifer Cashin stood out as having a strong knowledge base of current district issues, consistent engagement at school board meetings, and a proven history of working alongside community and school organizations to support our schools. I believe Jennifer is the best positioned to make an informed and thoughtful decisions that will benefit our students, teachers, staff, and schools immediately upon appointment. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to share my perspective.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who came out for public comment and everyone who always comes out. The board always appreciates hearing from the community. Up next, we are going to begin the board discussion regarding the District 2 school board member selection. I wanted to preface that by just saying thank you on behalf of the entire board for all 9 people who applied. You put yourselves out there and put your time out there to complete the application and send us, and then especially the 3 candidates who came last week and really put yourself out there to be interviewed in a public setting, live streamed. The community needs more people like you, and we really appreciate that. I hope you truly understand. We had amazing candidates, and you are the kind of people that our community needs more of, ready to serve. So thank you so much. So we are going to begin our board discussion. Typically, what I like to do is just start at the end and work this way. So I will go ahead and start with Ms. Wheeler.
Thank you, Madam President. After hearing the public comment and knowing that, in particular, Mr. Brown wanted some additional time to think for our meeting today, I would appreciate it if you or someone else would go first, Mr. Brown. I'd appreciate it, just so I can hear what your thoughts are.
Okay, thank you.
But we're going to go around twice, right? To cycle through
Yeah,
twice?
so typically Robert's rules is at least the board member gets a chance to kind of have their discussion piece without people interrupting or
Right.
interjecting, and then we can go back. Once everyone's had a turn, we'll go back through. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. But we each will get a chance to kind of retort or reply to things we may have heard?
Yes.
Right. Okay, I just want to clarify that. I just wanted to say that, yeah, I'm going to underline that we had 9 candidates apply for this position, and it's remarkable that we live in a community that is so, the schools are so important, and that we just had excellent candidates, all 9 of them. And I just wanted to underline that. So I'm going to try to make it simple. I'm going to look at, express my thoughts from one of qualifications, and I'm going to make a second point, but the first one I wanted to talk about the qualifications of the 3 candidates that we had. Firstly, when I looked at the 9 candidates, I was looking for some kind of quick way to downsize, so I looked at tenure in Carmel. I thought it was very important that we had people that lived here a long time if we had such applicants, which we did. We had 5 applicants that had been here 11 years or more. So I thought that was a pretty important thing to look for. So, and one of them did that made the final 3. So with that said, what the majority selected to downsize from the 9 to the 3, we had one that had lived in Carmel 20 years and lives in Indiana, has lived in Indiana for 52 years. We had one candidate that lived here for 5 years in the district with 9 years total in Indiana, and one that had lived in the Carmel District 2 for 1 year and lived in Indiana for 25. So that was our final 3 candidates to pick from. And based on that criteria, I considered 2 with the most years. That was Jennifer Cashin and Michael Riffett. And but I also did want to say that our 3rd candidate was amazing too. I'm not going to go and talk much more about her, but I was quite impressed with her. I think we all were. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been on our list. But just to kind of focus down on the 3. So one thing I also wanted to look at was, do they have children or grandchildren in the Carmel schools now or going in soon? I just kind of want to see where that was. Well, Mrs. Cashin has 3 biological children in elementary school. Mr. Reffett also has 3 biological children, but he also has 7 adopted children. So after they had their 3 children, they went out and adopted 7 children that were in dire situations. 3 were from Haiti, and 4 were domestic children that were from troubled situations. A very diverse family. And they gave those 7 children a second chance, or a chance to live, a chance for hope, and a chance to thrive. And I applaud them for that. It's an amazing thing that they have done. Sadly, they did lose one, and nothing worse can be an experience for a parent other than to lose a child. But since then, as I understand it, 2 have graduated, and 7 are currently in the schools right now. And they've been involved in Carmel schools for 20 years. I mean, in other words, their kids have been in schools continuously for 20 years. That's an amazing statistic. There's probably no one else that is come close to that. And interestingly enough, he actually attended Woodbrook. I don't know for how many years, but he went to one of our first elementary schools. And looking at his 10 children, 7 of which he adopted, there was a significant diverse background, including racially, culturally, and experientially. Their kids have experienced the gifted programs, the special education programs. They've had IEPs, they've had 504s, and they've had trauma-informed support. So they really understand what Carmel has been able to do for their kids and what are important for our diverse set of situations in the city. Michael uniquely brings a personal understanding of how school policies and governance issues affect real students and real families. Looking at his professional background, absolutely amazing, impressive, and it really, and both of them actually, Jennifer too, Ms. Cashin, she got 18 years of professional marketing experience, if I read your resume right and heard you right. Mr. Reffett has got 30 years, senior level global enterprise experiences, including being a CFO, a president, a chief business officer. He's been on multiple boards. He's managed teams responsible for finances, human resources, legal professionals. And the background that he can bring to the board would really help us navigate budget cuts that we have to deal with the next couple of months, and how to prioritize our resources, or scarce resources. He deals with that. He made some comments during the interview that I thought were very appropriate, that he's approached in his job, particularly as a CFO. of how do you deal with a limited amount of resources and departments that have lots of justification for spending or needing excuse me, budget, and he's been able to sort through that from the most objective way for the corporation, and I could see we could really benefit from that. Looking at their impressive educational backgrounds, Mrs. Cashin's got a couple bachelor degrees and an MBA. Mr. Reffitt, similar, has a bachelor degree and an MBA and is now working on his PhD in leadership. From a qualification perspective, I find Mr. Reffitt to be the top candidate for the reasons I've outlined. They're both excellent, all three are excellent, but those two stood out. I find Mr. Reffitt to be, from a qualification perspective, a clear choice for all those reasons I just mentioned. My second point is this, is conflict of interest. I'm very concerned about this. I find a significant concern with bringing Mrs. Cash on from an appointment perspective to the board. She's been the chairperson of Support CCS. Support CCS is a political action committee formed in Carmel. Its stated purpose is to support school board candidates for the Carmel Clay Schools. As she informed us, they have a board, some board of people that pick the candidates, they interview the candidates and put them forth. So I'm not comfortable with that, particularly if there was more competition in Carmel. I may not be so concerned about it. They organized in late 2021, as I understand it. They've been actively involved in the last two school board elections, providing funding, significant funding, providing organization, able to rally people and come to action. And this last election, they spent almost $97,000 from what I can see looking at the records for two of our school board members in the last election. And this is a material benefit. And I have a real problem with that. It's one thing to be elected by the community. It's another thing to be appointed by school board members that have received significant material benefit to then turn around and appoint. So that's where I stand. Those are my two major issues. One is qualifications. I think Mr. Reffitt is clearly the most qualified candidate, and I find Ms. Cashin to be very qualified, no doubt, but I have a major issue from a conflict of interest, and I'll leave it at that at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Shapiro.
Thank you, President Koke. At the risk of sounding a little redundant, made some notes. So I too would like to express my gratitude for the 9 folks who applied to fill the vacancy for the District 2 seat. I agree that it says a lot about how much our community values and cares about our schools that we had that number of people willing to step up and serve out the remainder of Ms. Nelson Williams' term. We spent a good deal of time as a board reviewing those applications. I think my fellow board members would agree we had a little bit of a challenge reaching consensus on which individuals to ultimately bring forward for public interviews, which also speaks to the caliber of folks who applied. I would like to extend my thanks to Jennifer Cashin and Jessica McElvey-Semin and Mike Reffitt for coming in for interviews. That requires a level of courage that I don't think most people understand, to come in and interview in public. So thank you for doing that. As people may know, we as a board do not always agree with each other on things, and we shouldn't. That is part of the work that we're tasked to do, to review the work in front of us, to discuss it, to debate it, and to decide what's in the best interest of our community, our students, our teachers and staff, and our families. And ultimately, to find consensus and make the choice that is in the best interest of all of those folks. We represent the community, and that means we represent a variety of perspectives on the issues. School districts are complex, and our primary roles as school board members are to supervise the superintendent, provide budgetary oversight, adopt and oversee policy, monitor student achievement, and represent the community. It may sound simple, but it's not. I came to this board with a background in nonprofit management and education with significant board experience in other organizations, and I can say there was a learning curve. In this specific situation, where we're tasked with selecting a fellow board member to join us midterm, I think there are several factors that bear consideration. It takes some time to be onboarded and to learn the ins and outs of this role, and it's to the community's benefit that this period of time is as short as possible. That means that we should be selecting the candidate who we believe has the understanding and experience to hit the ground running and already has some depth of understanding of what they're getting themselves into. In my opinion, that means experiences such as involvement in the school system and the Carmel community, experience as a board member, demonstrated understanding of the school system, among other things, are vitally important. Additionally, it's equally important that the person selected is willing to challenge the status quo, be critical, and ask the difficult questions. Our role as board members requires us to do this. Yes, the Carmel schools are excellent, and it may seem at times that things are just humming along. However, CCS can always improve. We need a thought partner who will challenge us and the administration to continue to be better than we are today. It became clear to me after reviewing the applications, the interviews, and reviewing my notes that there was one person that best fit what I think is needed to fill the seat on the school board. In my opinion, Ms. Cashin stands out among the candidates, having the most experience, understanding the nuances of the school district, its stakeholders, and the functions of the board. She'd require the least amount of time for onboarding, as she already understands, she already has knowledge of many of the aspects of how this board works and of the school district as a whole. I feel compelled to at least address the comment about material benefits. And I understand, and I talked about this with Mr. Brown during some earlier conversation, and I think there's some validity to the issue of perception of conflict of interest. I do. However, I would say that I think there's a difference between perception and it'd be different if Mrs. Cashin directly gave material benefit to me as a candidate, and that did not occur. A political action committee provided benefit to me and another candidate. That is not the same as an individual providing direct material benefit or a member of this community doing so. In addition, there was another political action committee in this community of which a current board member was also significantly involved in and used their finances to help fund other candidates that were not elected to this board, but I think that could be perceived as a potential conflict. That being said, I didn't establish a PAC. I had to apply for endorsement. All of the candidates who chose to run in last cycle's election were invited to apply for that. Ms. Cashin was not on the committee that endorsed those candidates. The other candidates were invited, and they chose not to apply. I completed the application process. I was fortunate to receive that endorsement. That's all I really want to say about that. My role as a board member, our role as board members, is to be objective and act on behalf of the community. And I don't doubt that for the past year I've done my best to do that. And I'm going to continue to do my best to do that. I believe that any person that viewed the interviews with objectivity can clearly see that Ms. Cashin is the best prepared to assume the role at this time. That's all I got.
Thank you. Ms. Wheeler, would you like to go next?
Thank you. First of all, as many of you know, I'm a lawyer, so I think like a lawyer and I talk like a lawyer. One of the first things that I did was look at what Indiana's law says about conflicts of interest in public officials, and everyone on this dais that's an elected board member is a a public official. What Indiana law says, which is 3544-13, if anybody wants to look it up, is that a public servant who knowingly or intentionally has a pecuniary interest, which is lawyer word for financial interest, or derives a profit from or contract or purchase connected with an action by the governmental entity served by the public servant. In other words, if I, as a board member, received benefit from a contract, for example, that the school board approved, that I voted for, that is a conflict of interest. And how a conflict of interest, if one exists, is solved in Indiana pursuant to 3544-13C is you file a disclosure. You shine some light on that. I don't believe there's any conflict of interest here, and I want to be very, very clear that I made clear both to Ms. Cashin, to Mr. Brown, and my fellow board members that I was completely open to choosing the best candidate. I personally told Ms. Cashin, there's no fix here. I'm going to pick who I think is best for our school district. I said that weeks ago, and I'll say it again tonight. The implication that there's some kind of quid pro quo or inappropriate conduct here is incredibly offensive to me. I think anyone that knows me and knows my reputation knows I don't fool around with that kind of stuff because, frankly, it would get me disbarred. I wouldn't just lose the public trust. So I want to be super clear that that did not occur. I do understand, however, the optics, and the law also addresses optics, or what lawyers call the appearance of impropriety. And what the law says with regard to that, both in Indiana and federally, is one of the solutions, if a conflict of interest or an appearance of impropriety exists, is what potential candidates for elective office can do is called resign to run. What resign to run is they declare themselves to be a candidate and they resign the position which could have the appearance of impropriety. Ms. Cashin explained during her interview that that is exactly what she plans to do. She addressed it, and rather than accepting that she addressed it, we're continuing to churn this conflict of interest narrative that is untrue. And if you think for a moment about what our rights are as Americans to participate in politics, in elections, we have the right to knock on doors. We have the right to political speech. We have the right to donate to those which we support. How could that ever prohibit any of us from ever running for office in the future simply because we have participated as Americans in the political process? In fact, our federal Seventh Circuit, which covers Indiana, has said if folks like this want to run for office, they may participate in campaigns for candidates that they favor, and they are free to do so. It is a constitutional issue. That case is Clausen v. Mike Pence, if anybody wants to look it up. With regard to that, I think that perception is important, and we may have disagreements about what is and isn't appropriate for a school board member to do. As Mr. Shapiro noted, we have a board member in Mr. Brown that gave more than $12,000 of his own money to the PAC that ran against Mr. Shapiro and I. He knocked on doors, he appeared in videos, he made public statements, he provided interviews to reporters. That is absolutely his right to do, and I respect it. But he's up here as an elected official. He has the right to be here. I don't agree with what he did, but it doesn't give me any basis to tell any of you he can't be here. I will also say that I disagree with him using this position in the past to comment support for the academy that was suing the district at the time to try to get one of our elementary schools for $1. I thought that was inappropriate. I also thought is inappropriate, continues to be inappropriate, for one of our school board members to knock on doors in our community and recruit parents and students to participate in the LifeWise program that takes students out of Carmel Clay schools and takes them to Bible study. I'm a Christian, believe in training my children up religiously. Think using school time and resources to do that is not appropriate, but we disagree, and that's okay. I respect that. But if we're going to talk about what's a conflict of interest and what perceptions are, then let's talk about the real conflict and the real perceptions. I don't want to go too far. We certainly can have differences of opinion. I have a hard time understanding, as Mr. Shapiro said, how anybody could look at our candidates and not think that Ms. Cashin is the best, with all due respect to all the others. I haven't heard anyone have any points that show that anyone that knows more about our schools, the laws that affect our schools, our budgets. And I also agree strongly that having somebody that can be up and running on day one is important. I will also share with you that Ms. Cashin and I have had serious disagreements in the past, both political big P and political small p. We're not always going to agree. It would be wrong to assume that because we're friends that we're always going to agree. And I think it's important that we show our students and be role models for our students about how to have respectful discourse, how to come from different perspectives without insulting each other, without spreading misinformation and lies. I also think that with an election in just 9 months, I'll be proven right. And those that think that the public should choose, the public will choose in November. I think they'll choose Jennifer Cashin. I sure hope they do. So I'm comfortable with that decision. This is the way the law is set up. This is a decision for this board to make. And I'm comfortable making it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I wanted to first just clarify something. Just to clarify, talking about the timeline of how long the candidates or the applicants had lived in Carmel. We didn't have access to the data, remember, of how long they lived in Carmel. It was just in their district.
The application also included how long they've lived in Indiana, right?
But not in Carmel in general.
Not in Carmel District 2. I mean, it asked how long have they been living in District 2 Carmel, and how long have they lived in Indiana?
Right, and I'm saying it didn't ask how long they lived in Carmel, and I'm saying that because as
Right.
I currently reside in District 3 and was elected in District 3. However, I lived in District 2 for probably over 10 years. And so if you look at if I were to fill out that application, and I just wanted to clarify this, it would look like I'd only lived in Carmel in my district for 6 years, but I have lived in Carmel much longer. Anyways, just want to clarify that point. We were only given access, and I think that that was a board issue in the future. Should we need to do this again, we will clarify how long have you lived in Indiana, how long in Carmel, and how long in your district. But I just wanted to clarify that. Some of the candidates may very well have lived in the entirety of Carmel for longer. I wanted to go through what I was looking for. And again, this is just my opinion because as a board is how we act, not as me or any of us individually. So a board decision is a board decision when the majority of the board decides on something. What I was looking for someone is someone who is not going to be a placeholder or a filler for Ms. Nelson Williams for just this 10, 9, 10, 11-month period. Because as the four of us sitting here know, it is a big learning curve. Mr. Shapiro said that. I'm in have 3 down in year 4, and I still am learning things. There's a lot to learn. So I feel like if our community expects us and wants us to be able to make the best decisions, that we need somebody who is kind of ready to go, who is not going to just serve as a placeholder for a couple months and then be done. That was, again, my qualification. I was looking for someone who does volunteer, who has kids in the school, and someone who had experience on other boards potentially, so kind of understood how different boards run. So those were kind of what I was looking for specifically. I did also want to clarify a little bit of information while we're just clarifying some things about Support CCS. I was part of the group of parents, the group of us who decided to form that group. The word political action committee gets a bad name because when this school, if you notice schools that have already started referendum type talk, and what do they do as a means of paying for the phone calls and the texts and the yard signs? You form a political action committee. So it does kind of get a little bit of a bad name. Really just a group of parents who wanted to make sure we supported our schools. And I genuinely know that as having been in the room. We were given guidance by a longtime group like that called the Washington Township Parent Council. They have a longtime history of supporting their schools, their teachers, their students, and their community, and really hearing from the community and making sure everyone feels heard. That's what we were trying to model ourselves after. Just wanted to put that out there, that I think we need to look at things from a lens of not just what we perceive, but also kind of look at a little bit deeper, because I am vocal about having been part of that group. So we have all had a chance to speak kind of on our thoughts on where we are. And if you would like me to, we can just go in the same order or go down the line with any further comments.
I'd suggest we go down the line since I went first.
Okay, sounds great. Ms. Wheeler, if you have anything, Ms. Wheeler, if not, then.
I just want to clarify, stepping away, my son's car broke down, needed to take the call. It was nothing personal, I apologize.
Family first. Family first, for sure. I think in closing, the one thing I want to say is I think it's a fallacy to pretend that if those that ran in opposition to Mr. Shapiro and I were sitting up here instead of us, that we'd not be talking about candidates who aligned with those people, because those are the people making the decisions. Let's be real. And if you can't do that, somebody sure ought to tell the president, the governor, and the mayor, because that's what people do, whether it's for jobs or political appointments or other things. You work with people you know. You work with people you trust. You work with people whose spirit and intention aligns with yours. So let's not pretend. Let's be real about how this would work if the coin was flipped. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, let me address some of the things that have been said here. Certainly, I will say that it is important, John mentioned this, that we don't always agree. That would make for a healthy and vibrant board, and we hear different perspectives that we might not already hear. And I think we collectively will make a smarter decision. So I wanted to thank you for that, but I've got some real points, real concerns with some things that I heard today. I wanted to address as well. I heard that it takes time for a person to come up to speed on the board, so we want to get someone that's going to hit the ground running. Well, to the point I made earlier, as far as qualifications, Mr. Reffitt has got 20 years' experience in Carmel schools with, he's had 7 kids, 9 kids go through. I think 2 have graduated. Some of my numbers might be wrong, but they had 10 kids involved with Carmel schools for 20 years. And as I mentioned, incredibly diverse. They've been parents of children from different racial backgrounds, cultural background. I met all those points. I mean, if that's not prepared and qualified, I just don't know I mean, knowing about some, how the PTOs are working, and those things come pretty quick and easy. We don't deal with that up here, those kinds of issues, but I think Mr. Reffitt is incredibly qualified in that regard. As far as the comment John made about Carmel excellence, yeah, I was involved in trying to get a PAC going. It failed miserably. It hardly got any money. I put a lot of money in there, and because I feel passionate about this school. We moved to Carmel. I think somebody said that. Most parents probably have moved to Carmel because of the schools. Well, we did that 33 years ago. And our son went through Forestdale from kindergarten. He went to Clay Middle, went to Carmel High School, 13 years in our schools. I love our schools. I love the community. That's why I decided to be on the board. I've got grandchildren. I want to make sure that we continue in the greatness that we've got. But to bring up the fact that we had a PAC, yeah, we had a PAC, and it didn't really fund the candidates. I think if you asked our 2 candidates, that was something they were very concerned with. They basically got almost, I'm not going to say zero, but they got very little benefit from the PAC. It didn't work well. And they went off and did much of their own fundraising. These 2 candidates collectively were funded $97,000 in their campaigns, and that PAC campaign was solely for the benefit of getting these 2 on. The other 2 candidates, Jennifer Nelson Williams, that just stepped down, Kristen as well, were also supported and screened by Support CCS. It has become a single party in Carmel, the only way you can get on the school board. So 4 of the last 5 school board members have been endorsed and advertised, materially supported by Support CCS. We've had the administration out there. And I want to say something about Dr. Tom Ostrak, because I want to make sure it's clear that I'm not talking about him. He was very clear about not getting involved in the election. He felt it was not proper because this school board provides governance and oversight of the administration. So if we start having the chief administrator, the superintendent, who was actively polling with Jennifer at one of our churches for Support CCS candidates because that's his boss and these are the ones he wants. We've seen other administrators provide financial support to the PAC, and we're supposed to be providing oversight to this administration. So if we're starting to have board members on here that are working with the administration to pick candidates that Carmel can vote for, and they have an overwhelming purse, I just don't see how anybody could ever get on the board unless they've come through the Support CCS PAC and they pick it. So we've had a single party system. I keep hearing this nonpartisan thing. I don't see it. I see they've created a party, but in addition to that, they've hired and spent a lot of money with a campaign management team that's sole reason to exist is to hire Democrat candidates. That's the first thing it says on their website. And I don't know why they picked it, but I wanted to bring that to the attention. As Chris was talking about, she doesn't see a conflict of interest. Let's see. She made the point that I was elected by a PAC. Well, there was no PAC when I ran. It was just me and some friends, and we skirted about. We did pretty good. We almost won a split ticket, and that's the way it should be. We should have a lively discussion out there. But I was elected. We're talking about an appointment here. And if we've got board members, 3 board members that have been materially supported by a PAC, a political action committee, appointing the chairperson of that PAC, whether you feel beholden to them or not isn't necessarily a thing, but it certainly could undermine public trust to the board's impartiality, especially if we have a PAC that's engaged with democratically aligned resources. Let's see, in many states, ethic rules or codes emphasize avoiding even the appearance of conflicts, and public officials are encouraged to recuse themselves in these gray area situations. So I think that I know Jennifer fairly well. We spent some time together. I agree. I've heard everything people say. She's qualified. I'd love to see her run again, but I don't think she should be appointed at this point. I think she should run and let the committee select her. I think it just looks too much like we've got a political action committee taking over. One more comment I think I want to make here is that Kristen made a comment about hiring someone that it's only a year program, when you hire someone that's ready to go. I made a comment about the qualifications of Mr. Reffitt. They're unbelievable, but I want to also point out that a year ago, January, I had been on the board 2 years. I have attended 19 training programs with over 25 individual classes on school board things. So I'm ready to go. I mean, I was ready to go a year ago to have significant responsibilities on the board, and I was passed over again. So we elected these two, or this one here, I have a lot of respect for these people, only disregard that. To be an officer, I was skipped over for that. I asked to be the policy liaison. I was skipped over. We put a brand new board member in charge of that. So since I'm not associated with Support CCS, it seems like me being a non-Support CCS person gets skipped over for things. So we've had our board taken over by a PAC that is financially supported by the administration to a degree of direct reports to the superintendent. And we need to watch what's happening here in Carmel, because you will have no chance if you have people like Michael Reffitt come to stand up tall, 10 kids, 20 years in the schools, and he can't get appointed by the board. We've got a real problem here. And I'll leave it at that. Enough said.
Mr. Shapiro.
Thank you, President Koke. Preface my comments here with, again, great respect for the folks who interviewed, and I really hope that nothing that I am saying is being heard as a critique or criticism of our candidates, because that's not at all how it is intended. I think there is a distinct difference between having students in our schools and understanding how our schools work. And whether you have a child, 3 children, 10 children, whether that's over the course of a couple of years, 5 years, 10 years. I think there's great validity in the experience that Mr. Reffitt has had with the children that he has in the school system. In fact, that's something we spoke about when we made the decision to bring him in for interview. I think that experience was one of the things I found attractive. And I think there's a distinction between having those experiences and understanding operationally how the system and the district operates, which is part of the reason we're tasked with sitting up here. Because what I heard when we were interviewing candidates was one candidate that clearly understood operationally things like school funding, school budgets, which are not the same as nonprofit or for-profit organization budgets, because I've got plenty of experience in nonprofit budgeting, and school finance is not at all the same thing. Someone who spoke quite knowledgeably about referendums, and with the greatest of respect to the other 2 candidates, they care deeply about safety, and we all care about safety as parents. But candidly, they didn't seem to quite grasp what the question was asking. Again, I'll reiterate my point about the perception around the PAC. I will also say, I think it speaks volumes that this community, the last 2 elections, has made very sound decisions about the candidates they have chosen to put onto this school board. Whether or not there's a PAC in this community or not, the community voted. Yes, the PAC spent a bunch of money. What was that money spent on? Advertising. Flyers. The PAC made no financial contribution to my campaign. I had my own campaign treasurer and I had my own campaign manager. So could they have bought less ads in the current? Sure. But the community pretty soundly has made decisions about what candidates they wanted to elect. So I think that says more about the quality of the candidates than it says about the PAC. Again, if we want to go down a conspiracy rabbit hole, we can have that conversation, but I don't think that is to the benefit of our time tonight or the community's time tonight. I think we need to talk about the quality of the 3 folks we have to discuss. And that's all I really need to say right now.
I think tonight is a good example of the board not always agreeing on things. And I think we could talk about this for another hour, and I do not believe, with some of the talking points we have, that we are going to come to an agreement on some of the things that we've discussed. I would encourage the community for any of the entities that we've discussed this evening, if you were wanting to look at websites or such, to do that research yourself. Ask questions at any of the websites or any of the either political action committees or candidates or anyone else. Just look yourself, and I trust the community to do that, because that's why, part of why we're here. I love this community, and I know that we are placed here and trusted by the community to make the best decisions. So I think I can't see that any further discussion is going to get us anywhere, besides perhaps some more discord. So I think we can move on to the action item portion of this evening. So the action item portion is where someone can make a motion to vote and select, and we will have that vote to select the appointment for the District 2 school board seat. Do I have a motion for a specific one of the 3 applicants to fill the open district school board seat, District 2?
Madam President, I move to appoint Jennifer Cashin to the open school board seat for District 2.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any further discussion? Again, this is not the previous discussion. This is a discussion regarding the motion to appoint the District 2 school board seat and have the appointee be Jennifer Cashin. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will take a vote. All those in favor of approving the motion, and that motion is to appoint Jennifer Cashin to fill the open District 2 school board seat. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries 3-1. At this time, I would like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.